All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hold on. I'm going to get the music up in a second. Today we have the ADP jobs data coming out. So it's actually a pretty big day for markets. I think the markets are going to be waiting on this. We haven't really gotten a recent report. The song is called Day Trading, so I'm curious to see what it looks like. But we're here. Bitcoin over 93,000 for a little while this morning. Got almost up to 94,000. NASDAQ has driven back. Let me know if you can hear me. Sound good? Does it sound good? It says it should be good. Let me know if it is or not. It should be fine. Actually looking a little low, but let me know if it sounds good. All good? All right, cool. No, that's the first thing I thought of. This song is called Day Trading. It's by Dylan Sitz, apparently. I'm like, this doesn't sound like day trading to me. Day trading to me sounds more like, let's find a... No. I think this is probably more day trading-ish, if we're talking about songs. This one's called Dentist Appointment. This does not sound like a dentist appointment to me. Top 3 sound? Good. All right, guys. So, yeah, look at the NASDAQ pop. We did have Macy's earnings this morning. We had NBA 30-year mortgage rates show up. Michael Burry broke down his short thesis yesterday in a podcast with the author of The Big Short. In my opinion, he's saying what he's saying makes a lot of practical and analytical sense. Yeah, that might be true. Macy's also came out with earnings this morning, and I mean it's the holiday earnings release, so it's not for the holiday; it's for Q3, but still. 9-cent profit versus 15-cent loss expected. Revenue of 4.71 billion. They expected 4.56 billion. Comp sales up 2.5% on owned basis, 3.2%. Expected negative 0.8% on owned and licensed basis. So we also had Dollar Tree. We spoke about them yesterday. I still think long term these are going to struggle, but short term, who knows? Today we have the ADP non-farm employment data. It's kind of like prelim NFP data. It comes out every week before the main payroll report, which I actually don't think we're getting on Friday since it's delayed. But we got the ADP non-farm employment private payroll data, labor data we have today. So it's an important day. We'll see what we get. 8:15 market time in about an hour is when this data comes out. I'll put a timer up. We'll do a poll early about that this morning. Does today's ADP jobs data show strength or weakness in labor? Look, the poll is going to be today. There is the poll. The poll is now live vote on. I'll put a timer up here as well. Again, we got less than an hour for this thing to drop. We got like what, 54.5 minutes? Yep. There's the timer. I don't know, Todd. I really don't know. Yeah, imagine naming a song Day Trading and then making the song super peaceful. Somebody has a day traded before, you know? Because if there's one thing day trading is not, it's peaceful. You know? This may be more fitting for it. Yeah, they're expecting what, like 10,000, I think, for the month, which is not good. But they're expecting like 10K for the month, I think. Yeah, so I see Amazon challenges competitors with on-premises Nvidia AI factory. They're doing a collab with Nvidia that combines AWS tech with chip makers tech, Nvidia's tech. CrowdStrike third quarter beat CrowdStrike is down though. So CrowdStrike released third quarter results that barely beat estimates on top of bottom lines. RBC Capital Markets Managing Director and Head of Global TIMT Research, Matt Hedberg, reacted. The good news, Bitcoin at 93,000 roughly right now. So crypto people are going to be happy. Let's take a look at yields this morning, huh? So, yeah, I'm looking at yields this morning. If we look at rate cut odds today, rate cut odds are sitting at 89%. They're even higher than they were yesterday at 89%. If we take a look at the 10-year Treasury this morning, 10-year Treasury is sitting down with higher interest rate or lower interest rate sentiment. 4.059%. It was at like over 4.1% yesterday, so yields are down. Nasdaq's been popping up and down. We did get a little bit lower NBA 30-year mortgage rates this morning. You can see gold right here. Gold is basically flat at 42.30s, but still up there. Yeah, so the ADP numbers are expected this morning at 5,000. I'm showing 5 to 10,000. Last time was 42,000, just to put it into perspective for the monthly report for November. This is ADP's monthly report for November. Again, it's expecting 5,000 jobs gained. Only 5,000 jobs gained. So, yeah. Very low expectation. If it misses that, we might be in turmoil, but that's a pretty low number for ADP jobs on a monthly perspective for November. Now, the shutdown did take up half of November, so, you know, I think we have to look at it as well in that context, but yeah. Will ADP be on time this time? Usually the non-farm, this ADP report's usually on time. The one that's not is what's called the ADP preliminary employment report, which is a weekly report. ADP's weekly preliminary report is usually late. This one, which is a monthly report on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, is usually on time, I would say. Look at the NASDAQ push as well. NASDAQ up to 25,650s. Nvidia up to 183s. Gold technically green on the day for at least a little while now. Yeah, I mean, we've been getting data a lot. We got data Friday last week, didn't we? No, we got data Tuesday last week. We got PPI inflation data last week and more. So we've been getting data. This week, Monday and Tuesday are slower, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have data. We have PCE inflation on Friday. So, would strong numbers mess with the rate cut? Maybe. I mean, I think we're so close to the rate decision. You know, we're like a week away from the rate decision. And so even if we get strong numbers, I still think we're probably cutting rates. Although it's definitely not a guaranteed. It's 90-10 right now. Basically, it's like 89 point something to 10 point something. So it's still pretty likely that we're going to cut rates, I think. And Barclays apparently sees equities gaining next year. Barclays remains upbeat on global and European stocks, expecting markets keep rising despite policy uncertainty. Banks see support from solid fundamentals, ongoing AI investments, and expected monetary easing, including more cuts. Earnings should lead gains, with European EPS forecast to grow 8% next year. Barclays highlights Europe's cheaper valuations instead. It sets a stock 600 target at 620, about 9% upside, assuming the AI cycle holds. And so they're bullish on global stocks. You know, you got to understand, sometimes these banks hedge their own positions by putting out stuff like this, right? And so I'm not saying that's what they're doing here. I doubt that's what they're doing here, but sometimes they do stuff like this. It's one of the reasons you'll see banks say one thing and do another, is because what they're saying is they're kind of hedging against what they're actually doing. You know, getting a little bit cheaper, getting things a little bit cheaper by putting out sentiment like that. You know. Yeah, look at gold. Gold back red on the day, but still fighting his way back up. If we look at silver here, silver's up to 59. Still red on the day though. It was over 59 for a while, but before it closed lower yesterday, but still over 59 right now. Or it was over 59. Now it's almost exactly 59. Nasdaq still pushing up. Bitcoin fading down a little bit, but it's still close to 93,000 this morning. Yeah, copper made a big move, and honestly, I think the copper made a big move. Glencore Capital Markets, they expected 4% overall annual compound growth rate in copper equivalent production from 26 level to 29, with copper production itself expected to grow 9.4% over this period. They said restart of the Alumbrera copper mine is a significant progress on de-risking exceptional portfolio of copper assets with a pathway to produce 1 million tons by 2028 and a target to produce 1.6 million by 2035. Streamlined operation structure with focus on accountability and ownership to deliver safe and reliable operating performance. So we also had JP Morgan maintain multi-year bullish outlook on gold in 2026 with continued robust central bank and investor demand forecast to push prices over 5,000 an ounce, that is. Brent oil price they think is going to fall further, averaging 58 a barrel in 2026 next year. Yeah, I mean, GG, you know, I don't even know what to tell you there, brother. Of course, it's a day trading challenge. You know, you gotta check more stuff with them. Like I always say, I can't guarantee anything, check with them. But you should have checked with that beforehand, bro. Trying to swing trade there, I mean. Bro, why is Nvidia working for you while the market is closed? Because the market's not technically closed. We might be in pre-market. So we are in pre-market right now. But pretty sure, you know, most people should understand that pre-market, market's open. You know? Yes, there's the opening bell, which is like full trading, like unrestricted trading in terms of orders. Starts at 9:30 in the morning at Eastern time. But prior to that, we have what's called pre-market, which means that you can use limit orders and get in and out of positions, including Nvidia and more. Yeah, you must be really new. All right. It's for us little guys. Honestly, pre-market trading, I think, is honestly where a lot of stuff comes out. Like, think about it like this. Most economic reports drop in pre-market. Like, most big events in markets happen in pre-market, I would say. Sometimes after hours. If we're talking about earnings, a lot of the time they're either pre-market or after hours. So they're not during actual market hours. So yeah, not a fool, but probably pretty new. Mizuho reiterated its outperform rating on Microstrategy stock. Apparently, they're in talks with MSCI over possible index removal. But Mizuho's Dan Delev reaffirmed an outperform rating and a 44 price target on strategy after hosting a Q&A with CFO Andrew Kang. They said MicroStrategy raised $1.44 billion to strengthen its USD reserves and secure 21 months of preferred dividend coverage without selling Bitcoin. They plan to expand reserves when MNAV exceeds 1, avoid new convertible notes, and rely more on perpetual preferred equities. Kang said MicroStrategy can operate for over 3 years at the current prices using Bitcoin sales only as a last resort. Monetization options like lending and covered calls remain exploratory, with capital strategy staying M&A driven. Tomorrow, the BlackRock CEO Larry Fink and Coinbase's Brian Armstrong are supposed to speak about Bitcoin and crypto at a New York Times event. Cantor Fitzgerald reiterated overweight on Amazon. Well, Bitcoin fall though. Bitcoin's down to 92,745. Yeah, TopStep does a good job of just cutting you out of the trade instead of closing your account down if you try to swing trade or whatever. Remember, not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. Always make your own assessment. I'm biased in terms of sponsors and stuff like that. Not an investment professional. When Netflix stocks will cross 450 or 150, I don't know. I mean, that's like a 50% gain relative to where it's at now. Maybe not quite 50%, a little bit less than 50%. It's like 40 something percent relative to where we're at now. So, I don't know. Could be soon, could be later. I like Netflix long term though. Dixie's in the process of losing 99 support. Do crypto and you won't have to worry about market open and close. Yeah, you'll just get stopped out at 12:50 at night while you're sleeping. It won't know about it until 6 a.m., 7 a.m. when you wake up and look at your phone. That's the problem with crypto, is that it's open 24/7, and so you can't manage. There's no closing time for markets. Nasdaq's still pushing here. Look at AMD. Bitcoin bounced up. AMD corrected some yesterday. Data's out in 40 minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes. Yeah, so Japan's 30-year bond yield surged to over 3.4%. They're now considering raising rates. Comes days after Japan finalized that 135 billion stimulus package. So Japan is printing yet raising rates. Again, at 8:15, we got the ADP employment change numbers. It's roughly... Again, I don't think we have the payroll report. Yeah, so what I'm seeing for ADP report, I'm seeing like a bunch of varying amounts here, to be honest. Like, I'm seeing some of these people expecting payrolls at like what? Let me see. Let me make sure this is right. Let's see. Never mind. Yeah, I'm showing 5,000 expected for payrolls today. So very low number. The previous was 42,000. Most people think 5 to 15K for the ADP employment numbers, 5 to 15,000. So we'll see what we get there. That's again, as I said earlier, that's a pretty weak number. We also have ISM services data at 9:45 and 10 a.m. today, which should move markets as well. We had NBA 30-year mortgage rate numbers come out at 6.32%. Look at the NASDAQ pop. Nvidia popping up as well. Bitcoin bouncing up a little bit as well. Amazon. Apple having a great few days, back up to 286. Salesforce this evening? Nah. Not big enough. Yeah, it's just not big enough of a company. I usually only cover Mag 7 stocks, and maybe if it's like a hyped up AI name that's getting a lot of hype, I'll cover those, but it's usually just Mag 7, to be honest. Nvidia up to 183.30 is rising this morning still, dragging the NASDAQ higher. Again, it's looking like Kevin Hassett is going to be the next Fed chairman. So I'm thinking Hassett. Who do you guys think? I know I did this yesterday. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Hassett, but I don't know for sure. Rates to zero? So somebody said, I don't know, PMI do 52.1 is higher, result better for rate cuts. No, so services is strengthened the economy. It's higher services sector data. So a higher number, and with PMI, it's the purchasing managers index. So like over 50 means expansion in services. Below 50 would mean contraction in services. And so if we showed up higher than expected for PMI, that shows more strength than expected in the services sector of the economy, which would be against rate cuts. You know, the stronger the economy is, the less we need to cut rates, essentially is what it is. That's the correlation. Right. I mean, I told people yesterday I thought it would be Hassett as well. Yesterday morning. It's either Hassett or Waller, I think, you know. Nvidia stopped playing to go ahead and hit 200. Yeah, it's close. I mean, it's 183. Nvidia's really been between, if we look at a long-term chart, Nvidia's been really in a very similar range between like 170 and 180, like upper 180s, like 190. You could call it 170 to 190. That $20 range has been pretty consistent for Nvidia. It's had a hard time getting back over that recently. Market just said boom. Yeah, I mean, regardless of who the next chairman is, he's gonna be dovish, right? Like, this is just obvious. The next chairman is gonna be dovish, and that's, I mean, we should expect that anyway. You know, like, we should expect the next chairman, regardless of whether it's Hassett or Waller or whomever. We should expect him to be dovish. You know. Nvidia didn't have great earnings. What company has? Google. Pretty good earnings. Yeah, Nvidia's earnings were solid though. I think Nvidia earnings were good. I don't think the market reacted as good as they could, but I think Nvidia earnings were, again, Nvidia beat and raised. They beat EPS, they beat revenue, and they raised guidance, right? That's all you can really ask for with an earnings report is better than expected EPS, revenue, and guidance. You know, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I have a Palantir volatile. Still down from 222s back in early November. But still holding at that 150 level. I think an interesting spot for Palantir is like 150 right here. 150 seems to be a line in the same area for it. So kind of like an isolated low down there. Again, looking at our poll, 58% think ADP jobs. The jobs data today shows weakness. 58% versus 42% thinks it shows strength. The expectations are only like 5 to 10,000, so they're not very good either way. You know, like for the whole month of, 10,000 is pretty freaking low. Right? It means we're averaging 2,500 a week, roughly a little bit over 2,500 a week, or a little bit under 2,500. We got EU's von der Leyen saying a bunch of stuff this morning. I don't know how much it's moving markets, but again, this is mostly Nvidia rising 183.50s for Nvidia. EU's Dombrovsky says new regulation will prohibit transferring immobilized assets to Russia. I appreciate the donation, Jeff. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. That would be chaotic, and I think markets would probably react negatively from it just because they're expecting a much more dovish chairman. But I also think that there's virtually no shot that happens. Like, there's no chance that that's going to happen. Like, virtually no chance that that happens. I wouldn't say nothing is 100%, but it's like 99.9 something percent likely that he's going to appoint a new one versus keeping the old one in there. Yeah, Palantir, super high PE ratio. Everybody knows this, Macy's is saying right now, CEO is pleased with quality or Q'd quarter-to-date trends through Tuesday via the conference call. I don't know, man. I don't think ADP is the one that cooks the book, Sergio. I think ADP's data has been more accurate than a lot of data has been. And so I think if anybody's cooking the books, it's not ADP. It's private data. And it's been pretty accurate over time. Again, the expected number that we get in 30 minutes is about 5 to 10,000. That's a pretty light number, and this is after the preliminary reports for the weekly jobs data that we've been getting from ADP have been very weak as well. One showed negative 11.25 thousand. The other one showed negative 2,500 jobs on a weekly, averaging negative job numbers on a weekly perspective for the weekly reports. So they haven't showed strength over the last multiple reports. Yeah, no, markets are green. Nvidia is what's pushing it. You can kind of see the top middle chart right here. This is Nvidia. Nvidia has been rising this morning. So Nvidia is propping the market up right now. Bitcoin's back up to almost 93,000, which is good. Most tech is green, I would say. SoFi looking great. No, 100% tie. Markets are going to react to it either way. And I would argue nobody says numbers are fake more than somebody that's wrong about predictions. If you're like, hey, the number is going to come in super weak, which you should never do either way, like it's incredibly risky. But if you're like, hey, the numbers are going to be super weak and then they show up super strong, nobody screams manipulation more than somebody that's wildly wrong about a prediction. I'm not saying they're not manipulated because, I mean, obviously, They could be, but we got to just take the numbers as they come. ADP is always wrong. I don't know. I think ADP data has been more accurate than some of the government data we've seen. Y'all don't agree with that? ADP had numbers at like 20K 1 month. You know, the actual government numbers were at like 100 and something thousand, right? And then a couple months, and then the next month or two, we got new reports and they revised those months down to like something very similar to what ADP showed. And so basically, like, essentially the first numbers that we got for the NFP report were wrong, and they revised it showing similar numbers to what ADP had originally reported. And so, I mean, nobody's exactly right with numbers. They're all straight up, you know, guessing sometimes, but of course numbers are manipulated. I'm not saying they're not. Yeah, survey data is, you know, always going to be a little slow, a little inaccurate. Nasdaq still pushing. Nvidia still testing highs of the day here. Nvidia up to 183.50 right now. This level could reject it, of course. Let's see what happens here. We got 25 minutes before the jobs data comes out. Again, this is the monthly NFP or prelim NFP report from ADP, basically, is what this is. Recession is here. Not yet. I'm not saying we're not trending towards one, but it's not here yet. We need at least one negative GDP quarter finalized before we're actually in a recession. You know, we don't even have one. You need 2 consecutive losing GDP quarters to have a recession. We don't have one yet. I mean, not in a recession. People like to just throw that word out there, but not in a recession. Is this the beginning of a crypto rally, though? Or a Christmas rally? Santa rally, sorry. Look at this rise here. Yeah, this report can move markets. I got a good question. Where do you get your weekly news from? I don't know, man. You seem like you're an Alabama fan. And so I'm not going to tell you. Are we live right now? No. I am an AI system, you know. I used to joke about being an AI, and now it's actually kind of more plausible that I could be. But yeah, I'm not. Weakness in the ADP pushes the market up or down. I think the market expects weakness. I don't know how the market's going to respond. I think it's pretty nuanced in terms of which way the market goes. I think that the market wants rate cuts, and weakness confirms more likely rate cuts. But I also think that the opposite dynamic is more conventional for markets. Like, most of the time the market wants stronger numbers, and stronger numbers prop the market up and help benefit the market. So it's kind of, it's iffy which way the market's going to head from it, to be honest. I know, I'm just messing with you. Actually, I'm not going to be too specific, but I have family that's actually from Alabama. You know, my uncle went to Auburn. My grandfather actually went to Bama, believe it or not. But I was born in Baton Rouge, so I'm an LSU fan. So go Tigers. We got Lane Kiffin. We'll see how long he stays with us. But Lane Kiffin does strike me as kind of like a weird guy, though. He seems a little, I don't know the word for it. But I hope he wins. I don't care how weird he is. I hope he wins. Banks want to cut. Banks don't want to cut. What do banks want, guys? Do banks want rate cuts or no? I mean, lower interest rates generally means less profits, but, you know, lower interest rates also means more business. But that dynamic is, you know, complex. Yeah, Einstein said something like, what is it? It's like Einstein said, the thing about smart people is that they seem weird to dumb people, or something like that, right? It was something like that. I can't remember exactly the quote. I remember the quote, but it was something like I just said. Yeah, Microstrategy, speaking of Bitcoin and crypto, Microstrategy, it's up a little bit on the day, but man, it has had a tough few months here. Look at Microstrategy's price graph. Microstrategy went from 350s down to 180s. Okay, you're saying I'm wrong about the Einstein quote about weird people? People who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. No, that's not the weird one. Bro, I got it almost verbatim. Although this is from Ty Lopez, so yeah. What's up, Sergio? John calling other people weird. I'm the top 3 weirdest over here. I'm definitely weird. Yeah, it's not that luck. Lane Kiffin seems ADHD medication out of his mind, is what it looks like to me personally. You know? But I don't care. I hope he wins, you know? I'm not judging him. I like Lane. If I was Lane, I'd have left Ole Miss too. Even if we're in a playoff season, I'd have left. All right, look at Nvidia, guys. Nvidia almost up to 184s. How much is your max squat? Right now, it's probably about 5 pounds. You know, not very good right now, I promise. All right, we're at 184s for Nvidia. Let's see if we hold. Bitcoin on the doors of 93,000 again. It got up to basically 94K. This is 94,000 right here. All right, we're at 25 650s. Watching 650 right here. Pandora CEO sells 25,000 shares. Look at that other news to see if we got it. Again, ADP's numbers in 20 minutes are big. Irrelevant. gonna watch them. Nvidia, Google, and AMD. Which one? What do you mean, which one? I mean, I like all of those personally. I like Google a lot though. I like Nvidia a lot too. I like all of them, to be honest. I think AMD's the underdog. Google's the established giant. And Nvidia is the big hyped up AI name, you know. And so they're all good for their own reasons. Nvidia dividends are coming. What's their dividend right now? It's like 1 cent a share. 1 cent a share. All right, guys. ADP numbers coming out in about 17 minutes. Again, they're expected anywhere between 5 to 15,000, which is overall pretty weak. Even if we come in better than expected at like 15 or 16, it's still not good for a monthly jobs report. But we will see what we get here. Numbers are looking light though. Again, unless we come in just wildly over the expected numbers, I don't think it's going to do much to rate cuts either way. I think we're probably going to cut rates on the 10th of this month. And yeah, I think that's pretty sure, even with this data coming out. Like PCE inflation data is coming out on Friday. If PCE inflation comes out higher than expected, it's expected today for Friday. Core PCE is expected at 0.2% and 2.9%. Now this is September data, so it is delayed. So we'll see what that shows up as on Friday. Rate cut odds will change. Well, they always change a little bit for sure, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to cut rates. ADP numbers could move it. This is the monthly report, so it's a little bit more influential of a report as well. So it definitely could move things. We'll see, though. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, rate cut odds have been volatile. We went from, you know, rate cuts today. No. Win strong data. I don't know. Paramount Skydance is plan B if Netflix wins the auction for Warner Bros. Discovery. Go hostile and appeal to Warner Bros. Discovery shareholders, according to New York Post. And they're gonna try to do a hostile takeover. Paramount. Paramount's trying to make some deals though, bro. They made deals with the UFC. Pay-per-views are gonna be free after this year. And the first card that we're getting in UFC for January is actually a very good card. Like, really good. It's like Justin Gaethje versus... It's like Amanda Nunes versus Kayla, the judo person. Like Gaethje versus Diego Lopez. And more. Great card. So, I'm usually against... Is it Paramount? I know they have agreements with Comcast, but good. Yeah, today the rate cut's going to be on December 10th. I think that's when the meeting is, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's going to be December 10th at 2 p.m. is when they're going to announce the rate cut. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, December 10th. When will you see me fight? Not for a long time, if ever. Probably never. If my knees, like... I went back to jiu-jitsu on Tuesday, or Monday. Alright guys, look at this pop of the NASDAQ here. Here we go, we got 13 minutes left. 13 minutes left till the data comes out. This ADP report is waiting for the New Year's ball drop. Yeah. We'll see what it looks like, man. I'm skeptical of jobs right now. And I think we probably should cut rates. But we also ended QT, which is good, and dovish. You got this flat top right here. Markets are kind of flattening out ahead of this report, though. Like, you can kind of see how markets are chopping leading into this report. Maybe we get some big moves, but look at Nvidia, guys. Nvidia just popped up 184.30s. 185 is right here. But Nvidia continues to move up this morning. Most tech is green. Ronda Rousey beat me up, dude, 100%. You know? I feel like we're getting at least 50 to 75 cuts next year. Yeah, I mean, I looked at January. The January expectation for rates, if we take a look at this, is still... So they think we're either going to pause. They think we're going to pause in January is what it's looking most likely at now. You know, so rates... So this thesis would be essentially if we... cut rates in December, and then in January they think we're gonna pause. So maybe they'll do a every other meeting strategy where we cut rates in December, pause in January, and then in March we cut rates again, and then pause in April. You know, continue that. Where is March, April? Yeah, I mean, the most likely thing is that we pause again in April. We'll see how many times they cut rates. They might just do it like they did last year, where they cut it at the very end of the year. In the last 3 decisions of the year, they start cutting rates. It's possible, too. All right, guys, we got 11 minutes left before the ADP report comes out. 11 minutes left. Yeah, I don't actually ever want to fight. I don't want to fight. I have no urge to fight. I'm too old. 100%. Oh. How much influence would the new chair actually have? I mean, he's the FOMC chairman, so he's gonna have some. I thought QE is dovish. QE is dovish, but ending quantitative tightening is dovish because of that, right? QT is hawkish, QE is dovish. Ending QT is a dovish thing. Will it influence gold's price? Maybe. It's jobs data. It's economic data, right? So it's how strong or weak the economy is through jobs. So it'll probably influence gold at least a little bit, depending on what the numbers are. If the numbers show up as expected, it'll probably have the least influence. If the numbers show up wildly over or under the expected at 5 to 15,000, that'll have the biggest influence if they show up outside the range of what we're expecting. So it really just depends on what the numbers show up as. If they show up flat, might not have much influence. If they show up big over or under, it might move markets more. They're always dovish until they're not. I told people when Jerome Powell made that last statement, Jerome Powell said, oh, a rate cut's not guaranteed. He said the same thing prior to the October decision. And then we cut rates in October. You know, and then in November, he said, oh, a rate cut in December is not guaranteed. And then yields spiked and the odds for rate cuts went down. And now it's looking 90% likely that we're going to cut rates in December. And so, again, in Bitcoin back over 93,000, I think they're just trying to temper expectations a little bit. But I think we're going to cut rates in December. All right, guys, we got ADP data coming out live pretty soon. Again, ADP jobs. We have 10 minutes. Got 10 minutes. We'll see if it does. Again, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Market's pretty flat ahead of this report. Bitcoin back over 93,000. Give me your number that you think ADP numbers are going to show up as today. What's your number here, chat? What's the number that you think we're getting today? Let me know. I'm going to go with 7,000. I'm I'm just saying something. This is just straight up guess. I'm gonna go with 7,000. Let me know in chat right now what you guys think. Again, I'm gonna go with 7K. Expectations are anywhere between 5 to 15,000 is what I'm showing on most of the sources that I have. 5 to 15,000 is what we're looking like. Again, I'm gonna go with 7. 7's kind of a good little neutral number. Again, I see most of the consensus at 5. All right, but I think we could obviously go negative if jobs are bad. We could obviously go negative here. All right, guys, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Yeah, we'll see what we get. Again, jobs data showing up in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Negative 12. I see 9,000. 11,000, my gut is telling me. Negative 14,000. Negative 20. 12. Something fake. 6,500. So you're just going right underneath my numbers here, huh? I said 7. I see some people saying 6. 3,500. 9,500. All right, guys. ADP employment report coming out for November. Last time they showed 42,000 jobs gained. Again, here's the last report. They showed 42,000 jobs gained in the last report here. $69,000, $70,000, or 7,600, 4,000. Job market has been terrible, Trung, for sure. 4K. See what we get here. A little nervous about this one, but I don't think. Again, we'll see what the weekly numbers show. See what the weekly numbers show. Again, we got about 9 minutes left. Or I'm sorry, about 6 minutes left. Hey, John, is there a slightest possibility that ADP report could be manipulated so that Powell could lower rates? I mean, obviously there's a slight possibility that that's happening, but I don't think so. I think universally we're seeing weak jobs numbers. I think ADP numbers have been weak. I think NFP data has been weak when we've gotten it. I think we've seen a lot of big revisions over the last 6 months in labor. I think we had a government shutdown in November. I think the government was shut down the entire month of October. And so I think it's the most plausible thing is that we just have weakness in the labor market, Again, but let me know what you guys think. Again, make sure you hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you catch up to the stream. Appreciate it. You get ADP numbers dropping pretty soon, 5 minutes. Everything's so weak, how does the stocks keep rising? Because stocks and jobs are not always the most correlated. We also have CEO Commerce Secretary Lutnick saying he's been meeting with the CEOs of robotics names is all in on accelerating the industry developments via Politico citing sources. All right, guys, 4.5 minutes. 4.5 minutes. All right, guys. Yeah, inflation. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Tariffs are still working their way through the economy. Some businesses may be using credit. Yeah, gold's been pumping as well. It's had a couple red days, but it's technically green on the day. It's at 42.40s. So it's closer to highs. It's like $150 away from all-time highs for gold. Pretty close. I think gold maybe wants 4,000 potentially. Yeah, gold might want 4K. And remember, guys, we got ADP jobs, and then we have ISM services data at 10 a.m. today. Yeah, Japanese yields have been ripping up. 30-year bond yields are up high in Japan. So, all right, guys, give me your last-minute predictions here. On the poll that we did, 54% said weakness. 55% said weakness. 45% say strength. Let me know if you think the numbers will be higher or lower than the 5,000 expected. It is coming soon. 2 minutes. Really, this is a little bit early. Really about 3 minutes, but a little bit less than that. Here we go, guys. Again, make sure you put it in 2x speed. If you put it in 2x speed and hit the live button, you'll be called up basically real time to the stream. And yeah, we're here waiting. Get ADP data dropping 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. We got about 2 minutes left now. Let's see what the data shows. We got a bunch of different sources up, and we're ready for the ADP numbers. Now, remember, this is private payroll data, and in my opinion, historically, these numbers have been a little bit more accurate than the NFP report that we get once a month, right? We haven't really got NFP reports, and we're not going to get another NFP report prior to the FOMC decision, which is why this report is so influential today, is because we're not really going to get another one of these before the Fed meeting next week, right? So we're not really getting one of these before the Fed meeting next week. So it's important to understand, like, this is what they're going to be looking at. We got a minute and a half left. Robots are saying, say it's a rally. NASDAQ 100 will drop. It depends on what the numbers show. Again, we're expected at 5 to 15,000 today. I think robotics is the next big sector, though. I really do. We got about a minute left. Again, put it in 2x speed, chat. And if you hit live next to the play button, you'll be called up to the stream. Markets are going to react well, then sell off a bit, maybe. All right, guys, we got about a minute left. And again, we're going to read the whole report when it goes live. We got 1 minute. NASDAQ's still pushing up ahead of this report. This timer's a little bit early. We got about 45 seconds left. Hoping for bad numbers. Everybody wants rate cuts. I think unless these numbers are wild, I think we're going to cut rates regardless. You know, the only thing we have between now and the Fed meeting is these numbers, PCE on Friday, jobless claims tomorrow, and some stuff next week. But none of the stuff is big enough to really move it like that, I think. All right, guys. Again, 5 to 15,000 is what's expected for these numbers. We got about 20 seconds. All right, guys. 10 seconds. NASDAQ's pumping up here. Look at these moves. Look at the NASDAQ push. All right, here we go. And the numbers are coming out right now. Negative 32,000 jobs. Negative 32,000 jobs. Negative 32,000. Wow. Yikes, dude. Negative 32,000 jobs here. Much weaker number than expected. Negative 32,000. We're going to read the employment report here. But man, dude, this thing showed up at negative 32,000 jobs. Negative 32,000 jobs, chat. A massively weak number here. The NASDAQ originally reacted negatively. This is basically confirming rate cuts right now, though. Negative 32K jobs. Wow. Again, negative 32,000 jobs for the ADP report. It was really weak, really weak. Negative 32,000. Gold spiked up on this report. Negative 32,000 jobs. This is gonna spike odds for rates. This is gonna spike jobs numbers. Hey, bro, I love you, dude. Have a good day at school, man. Here, buddy, I gotta cover this right now. Maybe, buddy. I love you. I'm sorry. Have a great day, buddy. All right. Yeah. So again, or negative 31,000 jobs is what I'm showing. I'm showing negative 32, but negative 31,000. We can read this. Job creation has been flat during the second half of 2025, and pay growth has been on a downward trend. November hiring was particularly weak in manufacturing, professional and business services, information and construction. Hiring has been choppy as of late as employers weather cautious consumer and uncertain macroeconomic environment. November slowdown was broad-based. It was led by a pullback among small businesses. Again, small establishments lost 46,000 jobs from 1 to 19 employees. 20 to 49 employees lost 74,000 jobs. Mid-size actually gained 31,000 and 20,000 depending on the size of it. And large companies gained 39,000 jobs. So this mostly affected small businesses is what was mostly affected by this jobs data. Natural resources gained 8,000. Construction lost 9,000. Manufacturing lost 18,000. You look great. You look great. Services gained 1,000. Information, I love you. Have a good day. Information lost 20,000. Financial services lost 9,000. Professional and business services lost 26,000. Education and health services gained 33,000. Leisure hospitality gained 13, and other services lost 4,000. So again, the original report I showed negative 32,000. Yeah, private employees shed 32,000 jobs in November. So, not good. The NASDAQ is not reacting well to this. I'm sure one of the things that we're going to see is we're going to see yields dump down a little bit on this report. They should be dropping on this report just because this means higher chance of cutting rates. And yeah, yields are down. NASDAQ is also down though. And that's why I said the correlation is hard to predict. This is a really bad number. But this is going to increase the odds of a rate cut. This is making rate cuts virtually guaranteed in December, in my opinion. I think if we don't cut rates with a negative 32,000 jobs number and us not getting NFP data prior to the next FOMC decision, if we don't cut rates, obviously it looks like we're behind if that case shows to be true. NASDAQ still dipping down here. Look at this drop in the NASDAQ. Again, negative 32,000 jobs. Yeah, I mean, Jerome Powell's going to cut rates because it's not just up to Powell, though. Yeah, it's not just up to Jerome Powell. There's a bunch of other members, too. Stagflation, higher inflation, weakness in the jobs market. We haven't gotten that many inflation reports. They haven't been low. They haven't been extraordinarily high either, though. I see some people getting mad at me for, you know, telling my kids, hey, I'm in the middle of something. But I gave them hugs and told them I loved them, you know. They're coming in right at 8:15, so that's how it goes today. But I still took the time to say I love them and have a good day at school. My son was asking me about things that I don't want to say on stream. So that's kind of why I said no. Don't talk to me about it here, basically, because I don't want a bunch of weirdos in chat to hear what he said. So... Trump seems to know that Powell isn't going to cut. I think he's going to cut. Again, I think we're going to see the odds of rate cuts spike. I think we're seeing yields dip down a little bit on this report. And I think we're going to see the odds of rate cuts spike on this report. Even more. We're at 90% already. You know. But the jobs numbers look weak. And again, this is not a good report. Again, you can look at this report. Down 31,000 jobs. 31,000 jobs. Private employees shed 32,000 jobs. My question here, though, is like, which number's right? This number shows 31, the big number. This text shows 32. So, and again, job creation been flat in the second half of 25. Pay growth has been on a slowdown trend. November hiring was particularly weak in manufacturing, professional and business services, information, and construction. So, yeah, we will see, guys. But these numbers have not been good. Yeah, these numbers are going to eventually move the rate needle for sure. Big candles. Powell's going to do what needs to be done to prevent the economy from collapsing. 100%, right? No Fed chairman wants a recession under their watch, right? And so it's what, like, I think Powell is all about balance. And so if the odds swing to rate cuts, he says, oh, it's not guaranteed we're going to cut rates, even though it's pretty likely we're going to cut rates. I think now it's guaranteed we're cutting rates. Nothing's 100%, but I think it's in the 90+% likelihood that we're going to cut rates next week on Wednesday. I couldn't imagine we don't cut rates on this week of a jobs report, especially if it's the only one we get. We don't get the NFP payroll report. And so I think these numbers show we should cut rates. Report is good for equities and crypto. Yeah, assuming that easing is good for those, yes. Yeah, we got ISM. We got ISM manufacturing PMI at 10 a.m. today. Oh. Hire me for the next Fed chairman. I'll do it. No. Is it time to buy this dip on these weak jobs numbers? The NASDAQ definitely reacted negatively to this. Gold spiked on this report. Nvidia even pulled back on this report. Bitcoin's still over 93,000, even though I think it's probably better for Bitcoin weak jobs numbers because it means more stimulus potential. But yeah. No data on inflation whatsoever. Cutting is irresponsible. Yeah, but guys, like, look, and I think people get really political about this, and I'm very neutral politically. I really am. Like, I dislike all of them. You know, I don't like any politician, to be real. But I think at a certain point, the labor market has to become the priority. And the reason it does is because if we do not cut rates and stimulate the economy, even though rate cuts are going to do very little, but if we don't stimulate the economy with really weak labor numbers and try to avoid a recession, eventually we might be heading towards that recession and get into a recession, and then the Fed and everybody has to super ease to get us out of it, which is going to cause inflation to spike even more, right? So at a certain point, with a certain amount of weak labor numbers, the priority has to be the labor market, because if not, then we go deeper into a recession or worse, and we got bigger problems with inflation. Even in the context of inflation, we got bigger problems. You know, what caused the biggest spikes to inflation over the last 10 years was 2020. The super easing that we did in 2020 because we were heading towards a recession basically there with all the stuff going on, right? So 2020, we did quantitative easing, printed a bunch of money. We had all the stuff going on there, and inflation spiked up a massive amount. And then we had to be really hawkish afterwards. So cutting rates 25 basis points, I think it's not going to spike inflation at the levels people say it will, and it's a good balance for what we're seeing in the labor market. Why do people keep telling me I'm muted when I'm not? I'm going to start banning them. Yeah. Fed has to cut rates because the U.S. economy is collapsing at the same time that Bank of Japan will hike rates. This will unwind the yen carry dynamic. Yeah, it's looking more and more likely that the Bank of Japan is going to hike rates. And the yen carry dynamic is essentially like, historically, the Bank of Japan has had a very low or negative interest rate. People use that to buy up a bunch of U.S. assets through the Japanese low interest rate environment, through the Japanese yen low interest rate environment. But now that the Bank of Japan is turning out much more restrictive and hawkish, interest rates are spiking there. They're probably going to raise rates their next meeting in mid-December. And that carry dynamic is unwinding as our labor market is really weak, right? So yeah, it was negative 31 and negative 32,000. Look, I'll put the numbers up on the bottom of the screen. You can see them, but the numbers were negative 32,000 is what I'm showing. Negative 32,000. So here's the numbers right here. I'll also put them scrolling at the bottom. What the heck is this? All right, Nasdaq's bouncing back here, though. We're popping back up a little bit after these weak numbers. Did you hear Powell's speech? Yeah, it was nothing. He didn't say anything about economics. Rate cut means Bitcoin about to rip. Yeah, I think we're gonna cut rates. Let me look at the odds. I'm sure they've changed. Yeah, I mean this might take a little while to get baked in. We're even seeing yields pretty muted here, but I think that's because the rate cut was essentially already pretty likely here. But yeah, yields are falling, which expected. Everybody already kind of knew rate cuts were going to happen. Yeah, Tesla rip it up, gold pop it up on these numbers. Yeah, maybe the trade to make was gold. Again, ADP report is out. Negative 31 to 32,000 jobs for November. Not good, weak numbers for sure. Yeah, Bitcoin is actually reacting positively where the Nasdaq is red on this report, but Bitcoin is up. Makes sense. Bitcoin wants easing. So yeah, I see robotics. We go long on gold. I mean, you could. I'm not telling you to do it. Not an investment professional, guys. Not liable if you lose. But you could. I don't know. You know, do your thing on gold. Gold, one of the best long-term investments. Short-term, I have no idea what it's going to do, but long-term. Long-term, it pumps, usually. And again, we still had ISM services data later on today at 10 a.m. And then I think we have regular services at 9:45. Again, Tesla rising as the president's, as the current administration signals robotics push. Tesla shares gained 1% after reports that the Trump administration plans to accelerate robotics development. Politico says Commerce Secretary Lutnick is meeting with robotics CEOs and may back an executive order next year. Serve robotics, rich tech robotics, and Teradyne all up. Commerce Department said robotics and advanced manufacturing are key to bringing production back to the United States. It follows the administration's AI acceleration plan with federal robotics groups working together and new legislation under consideration. But again, negative job numbers. They expected 5 to 10,000. They showed negative 32,000. A really weak number. Look at the 665 level rejecting here, though. I'm watching 650. I might buy a 650 pullback here if we get one. If we can. Yeah, let's see. We are getting a dip here. Let's see if we can buy this dip. Hold on, which... And right here. Oh, I was going to buy the dip at 650s maybe, but I missed it, I think. Oh, what a terrible fill that just got here. I'll have to add to it, I guess. But a little nervous about adding to this. Trading data is not necessarily a smart move, so don't copy me. We had such a green day in this one, yes. Play with this. Just see if we bounce. We're getting some retracements back up. I will cut this pretty soon, though. I wanted 650s. I got a little greedy with it, but... I'm going to reduce my size pretty small here. Maybe add back if I can. I wanted 650. Look at the 650 bounce. Alright, we're popping back up here. The range is still pretty light, though. And with the ADP data. I should have held. If I add some size back and we start to head up. There we go. It looks like it's going to rebound, but it could also continue down here, so if it pops back. The new, back the new. Having a hard time going anywhere here. We're basically just stagnating. Jobs labor could obviously push us back down. I'm going to start holding 650. We got jobs data that showed negative 32,000. You can read it at the bottom of the screen. Okay, let me end this poll now. I'm gonna end this poll. What's another poll? Do we cut rates in December now? We'll do that poll. Do we cut rates in December? I think obviously the answer is yes. But I could be wrong. We had US import prices show up as well. They should have been 0 versus expected 0.1. Yeah, we're just not holding any of the pops that we're making here. Still in this, but we kind of de-risking from this. The weakness votes were correct though in chat. Not bullish. Yeah, I think maybe the market's reacting negatively because it looks like we're less proactive of rate cuts and more reactive, and that might make the market panic. Could be what's going on here. Dude, the market is basically not moving. I'm trying to hold this. Nvidia's starting to fight its way back up, though. It looks okay. But like maybe Meta up here. Bitcoin back up as well. Amazon had some good news. It's at 235s. Apple. Technically red on the day for Apple. At 95% likely that we cut rates, according to the chat. I'm still looking to see if the Fed watch tool changes here. It should. It's actually went up. It went down slightly, believe it or not, but sometimes these take a little while to react. Yields are down. Yeah, ISM news is coming out 10 a.m. Yeah, people get too political about it, so like, you know, and I certainly disagree with some of the stuff the president does, but I don't disagree that we should cut rates. I think people just get into this mode where they just kind of disagree, you know, and at this point in time, with the weak labor numbers, I think we should cut rates. Right, there we go. That's better. I'm going to add some size to this. I'm going to start taking some size off. I like 665 up there. There we go. We got basically 665. We made money on the trade, which is good. I should have stuck with my original entry. Remember, I said I wanted 650. I ended up buying it like right here. But I should have bought it right here if I couldn't get in closer to that. Should have held 100%. How last month that a date that a cut is not guaranteed, the chances were 50%. Nothing changed. There's no data on inflation whatsoever. Why do you think it is political? Because I think people ignore labor data. Like, because most of the time, I'm not saying everybody's political. I think a lot of people are. And again, I think it goes for both sides. I say some people, anything the president says they agree with, and they're like, yeah, we should do that. And anything the president says they disagree with on the other side, they say, oh, we shouldn't do that. Whatever it is. I think inflation is around 3%, 2.9% expected PCE on Friday. I think inflation is around 3%. Is 3% a good number? No. Is 3% a hyper elevated number as well? No, it's not. Not the worst it could be. Anything, around 3%, it's at the higher end of normal. It's not crazy high. And again, we've seen a lot of inflation over the past 5 or 6 years, and that might skew people's expectation of inflation and where we're at now. I think if people look at prices they're paying now versus what they were paying 5 or 6 years ago, there's obviously big differences, and that might be what people are looking at in terms of inflation. But if we're looking at just the inflation rates, obviously the target's 2%. We're not really super elevated, but we're not in a good place necessarily either. But I think the labor market looks so weak right now, and in terms of most of the sources that we're seeing for the labor market, not just for this past month, but for the past 3-4 months. And if we let that continue, even though rate cuts are going to do very little, and I think that's another dynamic as well, but I think if we let that continue without stimulating, then we could have problems. Bigger problems to inflation than what we're seeing now, And so should have brought 650. It was right around the 200 exponential, but that's okay. We're green. Green is good. I think cutting rates will just bring the economy to the same state in 6 months. Where inflation is 3.3%. Companies just don't want to grow. They're moving money into AI. Yeah, but I think that's going to happen either way. I think most companies are in the money grab AI phase. Delta Airlines sees 200 million profit hit citing government shutdown. You get Bitcoin doing okay here. Nasdaq still trying to get up there, but the range is still light. I think we're gonna do 25 basis point cuts. I don't think we're doing 50 regardless. And yields are down, but I don't think we're gonna do 50 basis points. I just think we're gonna go what the status quo is right now. I think the status quo is 25 basis point cut. Is what I think. Still waiting to see if the odds of a rate cut increase even anymore. $50 could scare the markets, yeah, for sure. I agree. I think 50 might freak people out. Also, I'm trading on Top Step today. It's a funded account program. They give you a demo. They test your skill. You pass the test, you get a 50K funded account, 90% split. You fail it, you lose $50. It's the best of both worlds. 90% split once you're funded. Reliable payouts. Super useful for learning how to trade when most day traders lose money. You might hear people talk smack, but the reality is most day traders lose. You can fund thousands into your own account and probably lose it, or you can try this, risk $50. If you pass it, you're learning how to trade under risk. If you fail it, you're learning how to trade under risk, but it's not the end of the world versus thousands like I did when I first got started. I'll put the link up. It's just a great way to help support the channel. No PDT rule in futures. Very similar to day trading stocks in terms of patterns, in my opinion. And yeah, I'll put the link up. But again, they're a sponsor of mine. I am biased because I get paid by them. But just genuinely useful for traders, genuinely useful. Understand all this stuff on screen. Put it to the top of the chat. And yeah. We're so flat right now, but Bitcoin is not flat. Bitcoin's pushing up. Apple's red, Nvidia's green. Nasdaq is red. Or Nasdaq is green, I mean, on the day. And pretty elevated. Nice little trend this morning, too. Michael Saylor says Bitcoin is the, quote, foundation of economic markets. I guess. I don't necessarily agree it's the foundation of economic markets. But I like Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin the foundation of economic markets, guys? Let me know in chat right now. 3% inflation versus 2% seems not significant to our human brains. Humans are bad at calculating compound interest. Yeah, no, I understand 3% is worse than 2%. What I'm talking about is just average inflation. We're talking average numbers here. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd rather 2% than 3%. If we're talking about compound interest here, I can calculate that. I'm not necessarily bad at calculating compound interest. You got 50K, and you lose 2% a year, which is 0.98. Over a 10-year period, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're going to lose a lot of money. What is that, 25%? No, yeah, around 25% here, or 20% in 10 years. If we're at 3% inflation, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're gonna lose 4 for sure. Your 50K is gonna turn into about 36,000 over 10 years with 3% average inflation. I mean, yeah, 3% is worse for sure, right? What I'm talking about is just averages. No, Bitcoin is not the base of economics, is what y'all are talking about. Definitely top 3 calculator clickers in the world right now. Yeah, it looks like the Bitcoin comment. Listen, I was just quoting Michael Saylor. I like Bitcoin. I don't necessarily agree it's the foundation of economics. I think that's kind of a wild statement by Michael Saylor, but it is Michael Saylor. I think you got to take it with just a little bit of, you got to take it with a grain of salt here. It's Michael Saylor. Yeah. It could be in the future, sure. I like Bitcoin, though. But again, I'm not going to just agree with everything Michael Saylor says either. As that coming all the way back down here. Delta says Q4 demand remains healthy. Early 26 trends are strong. Growth in bookings have returned to initial expectations after softening in November amid the government shutdown. Lagarde says risks to outlook continue to be two-sided. Hard speaking. John, besides buying and selling, what do you use Bitcoin for? Nothing. Right? Again, people like to use the argument because Bitcoin has currency in the name. Do you buy groceries with gold? 1975? Do you go up to the store, like the guy in Jumanji, and just give him a bunch of gold when you buy milk and eggs? Of course not. It's not a reasonable correlation. The old Jumanji, by the way, not the new one. The new one, you know, get off my lawn. The old one's better. Robin Williams all day, you know. Who wants to store their value in an asset that lost 30% in a month? I'm pretty sure Bitcoin is still the single best performing asset of all time. No? Am I wrong there? I could be wrong. Again, I like Bitcoin, but I'm also not somebody that just agrees with all the optimistic things people say. You know, people said Bitcoin be at 250 by the end of this year. That's looking pretty unlikely, you know. Can't you buy a house with Bitcoin now? Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, it's definitely a speculation asset as well, though. I mean, I agree. The blockchain's really the useful technology, you know. And over time, that'll take over a lot of stuff, obviously. Yeah, I have some Bitcoin. All right, guys, we're still dipping down. We're at 650s here. 650s. If you can't handle Bitcoin at its worst, you don't deserve it at its best, okay? Is that a quote? It should be a quote, you know? What a ridiculous quote, though. Not even in the Bitcoin context. But like, what if at your worst you like slapping old ladies? You're telling me I should stay with that just to enjoy you at your best? No. You know, unreasonable comment, I think. Let me know in chat what you guys think about that right now. Bitcoin is getting adopted increasingly as payments all over the world. Yeah. I like tulips. I don't know if it's created for dark web. They definitely used it though. All right, guys. Bitcoin. Speaking of Bitcoin, back up to $93,240. Yeah, Microstrategy stock has had a time. We're at 350s. Back in early October, 350s, all the way down to 155 at the lows a couple days ago. That's a terrible joke, K-Dog. Terrible. I mean, they use AI for crime. What do you mean they use AI for crime? Yeah, of course I mean, they use it for everything. They use everything. Like, Intel. All right, guys. Again, we got 40 minutes until the opening bell. We got ISM services PMI data at 10 a.m. You recommend it? I'm not an investment professional. I don't give professional investment advice. I'm not liable if you lose money. Intel? I didn't understand the context if they use it for crime. I didn't mean if they used it to prosecute crime or they used it to commit. Is really what that question was asking. I trade right here, but the market's pretty flat. We've gotten into a green trade today, but we bought it at 650s. In hindsight, was the right place to buy it. It was a little wimpy with it, but held it basically up there, and we stopped. The market's just too sideways right now. We're just in a range like this. Up and down swings are big. And so it looks bullish, and the market's been bullish, but this is sideways trending after a pretty nice little green move earlier. So now we're at the top of the range here. Now we're at the top of the range. So I'm just gonna sit tight and wait. I'll trade if we get back down to 650, but. What do you look for when exiting a trade? A big confirmed resistance level that a lot of people see, and that's really obvious, mixed with tension. Yeah, opening bell might break the range. I don't know. At this point, so much big money has got involved with crypto that it's much more immune. I'm not saying it doesn't make big swings up and down, but it always has. You know. Yeah, Macy's did beat earnings hard. I still think Macy's is going to go out of business immediately. They still reacted negatively to this as well. They went from 24s down to 21, so pretty big percentage, really. But I think Macy's, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, big. I think the rent is going to be so expensive to maintain a store like Macy's, and the sales that they get are not going to be anywhere near justified over long periods of time into the future. With so much stuff getting bought online and that dynamic increasing, Macy's, Dollar Tree, Dollar General are going to be in trouble long term. Short term, who knows? They might rip up. We're in the holiday season, so, but long term, there's risks, of course. President talking about getting rid of income tax. I don't agree with everything he says, but I'm for it. Get rid of income tax, dude. I think the real tax we should be getting rid of is property tax, personally. But I'd be okay if they got rid of income tax for selfish reasons, of course. But should we get rid of income tax? Only people who can't think for themselves buy assets based on cult-like dogma, form of herd insanity. Yeah, but I think over time, if that asset goes up and has proven time-tested gains. You know. Yeah, I understand. Property tax pays for is local. I understand, but I still think we should get rid of it. Sales tax can pay for local, you know, whatever. But I think the concept of property tax is ridiculous. Are y'all really getting rid of property tax in Florida? So oil sees choppy trade on reports U.S. is considering allowing Maduro to relocate to Qatar. If we look to oil here, guys, oil's up to almost 60 on supply and demand woes. Nasdaq is now under that 650 level here. I kind of want to short it, but I also think there's a chance that we bounce up quickly right here, so I'm gonna wait. And yeah, there's the bounce up quickly. So Bitcoin back down to 93.1s. If we bounce up 50 again here, we drop right underneath it maybe. My opinion, I'm okay with property tax staying if you only pay it on the amount that you originally paid for the property. If you just stick with that same amount, so that over a 20 or 30 year period, you're not getting just hosed in property taxes over time. That if you buy a house for 100K 20 years ago, you just pay taxes on the 100K amount, not necessarily the 400,000 or 500,000 price that it would be at. I'd be okay with that as well. I don't want to short this now. You know what? I'll try. At the top. Around 6. We'll add to it slowly if we go into. Labor data was weak. Maybe we'll get a delayed response to that. It is Wednesday. We got bad jobs. So. Waiting for it to go in my favor so I can add a little bit to it, but all right, there's 9 a.m. Maybe we'll have some kind of orders getting picked up at 9 a.m. though. I still wanted to go down here. We still got 30 minutes to the bell. I will add to it here. There we go. Good. Don't bounce. Yeah, I see. Where it is, the liquidity grab. I want to see it fill the gap though, but yeah, I'm getting liquidity grabbed up there. It just broke this low and then ripped up. So again, this is why it's just too choppy. We're pretty much flat on the day though, but faked me out completely. Look at that drop. We were right about the drop. Look at this drop, guys. Whoa, is this news related? Let me see. Should have held. I'm gonna trademark that, you know. Definitely should have held. Look at this drop. Oh. This has got to be catalyst driven, I would assume, based on how big these candles are. Look at Bitcoin fall as well. Something happened. Look at this drops. Something just happened, chat. Hold on. I don't see anything on the wires either, though, which is weird. Bitcoin flying down. Generally speaking, this is something going on. Look at Bitcoin. Oil sees choppy trade. I saw that earlier. Yeah, I don't see it. Weird. Yeah, the VIX is going to be climbing here. This is some type of catalyst here. I'm checking social media, though. I don't see anything, so... Looking at social media to see if the president's tweeting or something like that, but I don't see anything from recently. What a weird candlestick movement. And the NASDAQ as well. Bitcoin can move like this. Nvidia's falling down, so I'm trying to look to see if it's Nvidia related. But I don't really see anything, guys. And if you guys see something, let me know. But it's very strange. Microsoft lowers AI software sales quota as customers resist newer products is one of the news releases. What's Microsoft doing? Okay, so this is Microsoft related. Microsoft, again, lowering its AI software sales quota according to the information. Microsoft lowers its AI software sale quota via the information. NASDAQ down, Microsoft down. Others are down, but Microsoft's really seeing the big hit, and it's dragging everything down. So again, this is Microsoft lowering its AI software sales quota according to the information. Yeah, Microsoft lowering AI software sales quota as customers resist products. Let me summarize this article. Look at the NASDAQ fall here. Wow. It suggests that while demand for core cloud and AI infrastructure remains strong, some enterprise customers are hesitant about add-on AI tools due to cost, integration, complexity, and uncertainty in the near-term return on investment. Again, Microsoft lowers AI software sales quota. It's what's dragging the markets down. Yeah, I might buy this right now. It's kind of a scary part to buy. I'm sure Michael Burry's loving it. I'm gonna buy this right here. Such a big range. There we go. I'm gonna start covering this. Look at this bounce. I'm gonna cut it right there. We just made so much in such a small period of time. I think I kind of have to get out there. I might add it right back, but we were up like 70 ticks in about 3 seconds. 25.5 is the level I was buying just now. So 25,500, a psychological level. Even if we continue down, a lot of the time at these psych levels, we bounce, giving me like a scalping entry is what I just did. But very strange, man, very strange. Yeah, Microsoft news dragging markets down. I knew it was some type of fundamental catalyst. Markets don't really move like that from from technicals. They just don't. Not really. I mean, they can, but it's pretty freaking rare. Microsoft's starting to bounce a little bit here as well. Did I exit out of the chat? I'm sorry, guys. I can't read the chat. There we go. Yep. All right, look, we're breaking that low. Look at Microsoft turning, which is what's going to drag it. Microsoft, the Mag 7, heavily weighted stock. Microsoft breaking under 480s, and the NASDAQ kind of following its tune here. So if you want to see where the market goes, I would watch Microsoft and other AI names right now. Bitcoin is bouncing back, though. It hit 92,000. So Bitcoin's running back up a little bit here, but yeah. Look at gold. Gold kind of following suit here. Microsoft lowering its AI software sales forecast and quotas according to the information. Look at this drop here, though, guys. This is a scary drop. Yeah, again, Microsoft. Yeah, we got the news scrolling at the bottom here. All right, I'm going to buy this now. Got a big cushion on the day. So, I'm going to try to add to this. Got a lot of red candles in a row, although it's definitely a risky time. But let's see if we get it. There we go. Take more off here. Take some more off here. And I'm going to cut it right there. Dude. Like 3 or 4 second trades here. We're just getting these big retracements back up. This one was 550 is what I was looking at. I don't actually have a level there, but 550 right here. And then we're continuing down. It looks like scalping these moves is the best plan of action here. European Commission adopts resource EU action plan to amplify efforts to secure capital, raw materials, and supplies. They'll drop it down. This is why you don't copy me here, guys. Do not copy me. Getting in these too quickly for you to copy. I was looking for a tweet. I didn't see one. And research. The problem with the site is that there's so many ads. Like, there's so many ads. Yeah, he didn't tweet anything. Yeah, the VIX is probably flying right now on this report. Yeah, VIX is up to 17s again. Again, give me a follow at Beginner Trades on X. At Beginner Trades on X. We cover all this stuff live as well. All the big news, at least. We covered ADP's numbers. Nvidia right at that 180 level. Big psychological level for Nvidia here, too. Yeah, I'm not trying to blame anybody. I don't, you know, I'm pretty neutral on all this stuff. I knew it was some type of catalyst, right? So I knew it was something that moved markets. And as much as I hate to say it, tweets move markets right now. This move is due to Microsoft putting out lower AI sales quota and forecast. What a drop, though, man. I would. The reason I've been buying this is because it seems like this is a big move. Seems a little much like an overreaction. No? A big drop for, I mean, Microsoft heavily weighted stock. But Microsoft's down, what, 2% on this news? Not a delayed reaction to jobs numbers. It's the Microsoft news. You can see Microsoft stock. You can see the downward pressure correlated to right around 9 a.m. market time, which is right around here. And then you can see the Microsoft reaction right here at 9 a.m. market time. See the volume spike up in Microsoft right around that same exact period of time. So this is Microsoft dragging it down. What a day. Yeah, we still got ISM numbers too. So ISM numbers are today. Nvidia back up to 181s though. Nvidia's trying to go back green on the day. Yeah, job numbers are terrible. The Microsoft news is that they lowered their AI software sales quota and forecast via the information. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, but that's the news. European Commission says it will launch a study to design price floors for raw materials to complement matchmaking platform. We're at 478s on Microsoft, 478s, Nvidia at 180s. But Microsoft just cracked lows to get Nvidia down to 180s here. Microsoft announced it's lowering its AI software sales quota via the information. AI fears is what's happening right now in markets. This is all AI related fears. We got 15 minutes until the market opens. That music coming from your stream. No, it's the music that's in my head right now, you know. It's not coming from my stream. It's the soundtrack to my life. You know, it's like Kid Cudi, I guess. Definitely not coming from the stream though. Not what it is. I don't know where it's coming from, dude. But somehow we all hear it watching this live stream. Only Santa we're seeing this December is the Santa of doom and unemployment, giving out free dismissal letters. Yeah, maybe. Will we get a Santa rally? I'm going to end this poll. We did a poll asking about a December rate cut. 86% say yes, and I kind of agree with that. It actually kind of fits right in with what the CME watch tool shows right now. Let's do another poll. The poll is going to be, will we get a Santa rally this year? Yes or no? Vote on the poll. Was the Umber bad? Yeah, it's the top 3 worst Umbers in the world right now, for sure. Jobs numbers showed up at negative 32,000, though. They were bad. Gold's popping back up a little bit. Is it time to buy the NASDAQ here? %64% say yes, we do get a Santa rally this year. U.S. capacity utilization showed up at 75.9% versus expected 77.3%. So a little bit weaker capacity utilization in September. We already had a Santa rally early. I don't know. Microsoft had some news this morning that from the information saying they're lowering their AI software sales quotas. And that dragged everything down. You can see Microsoft. The news started right around 9 o'clock this morning. You can see the news on both fronts. So, yeah, bad Microsoft news. Nvidia's down, Microsoft's down, Bitcoin's down from this news. AI fears is what this is. This is essentially everybody worried about AI corrections is what this move happening. The opening bell, I think, is going to be more interesting now, though. Virtual steel. People don't buy anymore, it seems. By what? Depends on what we're talking about. Yeah, what a move here from this news. Honestly, I'm surprised. Industrial production also showed up again, 0.1% month for September. A little bit delayed numbers. But I'm surprised the market reacted this big to that Microsoft news. This is a big reaction. It's not small. As soon as I saw the movement happen, and honestly, guys, just to put this into perspective, I cut my short here, literally right there. I cut my short right there. Worst timing ever, bro. Worst timing ever. I genuinely cut my short right there. I'm still green on the day, but I'm not really happy right now about it. Yeah, definitely top 3 worst trades ever. What happened? Microsoft had some bad news come out. Microsoft lowering their AI software sales quota according to the information. You're probably right, Rosa. I made enough money, to be completely honest. I made enough money buying the dips here and here, where we spiked up almost immediately. Like, I made enough money doing that to justify it. So I made enough money on the way down. Do we go, are you bull or bear for the opening bell? I'm gonna ask the chat. Are you bullish or bearish? Days open. All right, guys, 10 minutes. What a freaking drop, though, man. Scroll up. Microsoft lowering their AI software sales quotas while we dropped. 63% think we do get a Santa rally this year. 37% say no. HSBC says new study counters AI bubble fears. Showing that 74% of companies report positive returns from generative AI, challenging earlier claims that 95% see no ROI. Analysts says that widely cited July MIT NANDA figure was based on weak data and exaggerated fears. They note that measuring AI success is complex and sensitive to methodology. The Wharton GBK study, now in its 3rd iteration, offers more reliable evidence that AI investments are delivering tangible productivity and performance gains for many enterprises. Ten minutes until the market opens. 9 minutes, really. You ever look at silver gold? Yeah, I mean, I look at silver gold every day, multiple times a day. Gold down with us on this report, which is very interesting here. You would assume people might hedge against AI strength corrections in gold, but gold reacted negatively right at the same time here. Again, here's 8 a.m. Gold fell down with us. Gold honestly prematurely reacted to it, which is kind of strange. This move mostly happened at 9 a.m. Gold, okay, no, it's actually exactly, never mind. Exactly at the same time. So even gold reacted negatively to this report. Bitcoin did as well. Look, Bitcoin same time, Nasdaq same time. So strange. Nasdaq starting to fight its way back up. I still am really tempted to buy this, to be honest. Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, of course, still down a lot. It depends on what Microsoft does here. If Microsoft continues to crack lows, it's such a heavily weighted stock. It's going to drag stuff down with it, I think. Bassett says Trump has normalized the idea of a 15 to 20% tariff, according to New York Times Dealbook Summit. 7 minutes. Bro, PCE is coming soon. PCE is coming Friday, but it's September PCE inflation. And so we're going to cover it like we always do, but it's September data. It does seem like an overreaction here, but it all honestly boils down to Microsoft. And again, Microsoft overall is green on the year. It's not as green as some of the other big AI names. But Microsoft's had a run in AI. So Microsoft keeps cracking lows. Everything else might keep dropping with it. I don't know. I think we're going to the opening bell. And so regardless of technical patterns, you know, the open might trump it either way. All right, we're going to be day trading live at the opening bell. Again, bull or bear right now? Bull or bear? Let me know. Put bull or bear in chat. I'm curious what you guys think about the open. I think you could argue extension-wise, we're down a lot, and maybe we'll bullish react to it, especially with higher odds of rate cuts because of the really weak labor numbers. Or you could argue labor's trending weak, we're headed towards a recession, AI's overvalued, and we're going to continue down. I don't know. Either way you want to go, I don't necessarily disagree with it. They end quantitative tightening on the 1st. Bear, 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 bull, bull, bear, then bull, bull. Bear, bear. Looks like mostly bears in chat. Bear, then bull, bear. Bullish for the week, no matter what. Yeah, I mean, I'm bullish to a point, I think. But I think if we start dropping 5 or 10%, I'm not bullish anymore. Yeah. 5 minutes left, chat. We'll go to 26,000 before the Fed decision. Yeah, I mean, we're not far away from 26K. All right, Besson is speaking right now. He said we could get a one-time price adjustment from tariffs. The tariffs have not set off an inflationary mindset. Trump is right on tariffs. He has a higher risk tolerance. Greer has done a great job lifting non-tariff barriers. I have evolved in my thinking on tariffs. Again, we could get a one-time price adjustment from tariffs. No, I'm quoting Bassett. Hey, thank you guys. Yeah, y'all hit the like button, hit the notification bell. I appreciate it. We got 4 minutes left. I'm honestly pretty green on the day, believe it or not. The range was so big when I was buying some of these dips, including right here at 50. I wrote it up here, that we made a good bit in like a few seconds. So Yeah, I saw that comment, Adit. I don't know. Bullish patterns are good if we look at a 15-minute chart, maybe. But again, I think the opening bell is volatile. I mean, I think we're down a lot. My bias is on the bull side, but I think if the opening bell, if the bears pick it up at the opening bell, it might not matter, you know. And so we'll see. I really don't know. The opening bell is just, there's variance with the opening bell. I think we just gotta wait. I'm waiting. I'm not gonna trade for the next 7 or 8 minutes. I just gotta wait until the open, and usually I let 4 minutes of the opening bell play out before I'm allowed to take a trade in my system. So. Bassett said, I do not believe tariffs are a tax. Bassett says Chinese have consistently cut prices. As tariffs haven't set off a, quote, inflationary mindset, unquote. Microsoft still testing lows here, though. Here's 25 fives. Might reject us if Microsoft continues to go down. Opening bell, we're going straight up, then down. Microsoft didn't release it. It was from the information. All right, guys, we got a minute and a half. Bassett said, I am optimistic on the Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court needs to be prudent about undoing the IEPA tariffs. Again, equity futures are down on Microsoft reporting lower sales in AI for sales quotas. Lower AI sales quotas. Less than a minute here, chat. Yeah, it's my Discord. I don't use it that much. If you guys want to use it to chat, that's cool. But all right, guys, here we go. Market's about to open up right now. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it seems like an overreaction, but it might not be, depending on how the opening bell treats markets. Again, here's the bell. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed if your bell is late. All right, there's the bell. Let's see what the market brings here today. Nvidia is moving down. Watching Microsoft closely here. Bitcoin's at 92.5s. Nvidia's right down to 180s, though. All right, looks like some of the weakness for Nvidia is continuing, but Microsoft's starting to push up. All right, look at NASDAQ coming down. It doesn't mean anything. This is the first minute of the day, so. But I see tech dropping, mostly. All right, Nvidia and Microsoft trending against each other. Really tempted to short this, to be honest. All right, I'm gonna risky. But hey, we got a huge cushion on the day. Play with it. See if we get some moment in my favor. We're gonna take one contract here. I don't usually trade this close to the opening bell. It's actually against my rules. If we see why. Yeah, we're just in one micro though. But yeah, I gotta cut it. This is why it's against my rules to trade this. We'll give it some time. I won't trade again until 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes. Yeah, just chop right now. I'm gonna wait. We still got a pretty big cushion on the day, so I'm just gonna wait until we get some better action for this. Oh yeah, we do have services. I forgot about this completely. We have services PMI data at 9:45 and at 10 a.m. today, guys. The services PMI, 9:45 a.m. Yeah, I should have stuck with my rules here, which I kind of got to wait. Again, we're about almost 3 minutes into the day. I still got to wait until 4 to trade. Nvidia's starting to bounce and Microsoft's pushing. I don't know. We're kind of filling some of the gap here. Never seen you stream for so long. Bro, I usually stream every day. You know, my timing is pretty consistent. I mean, I stream like this every day. Time to buy the dip here. Kind of looks like it. Gotta wait 30 seconds. Kind of whippy though. Like Microsoft could turn down and Nvidia could reject at the VWAP and we could start dropping here. So just be careful. I gotta wait. Range is pretty big too today, so. All right, now we can actually trade here. All right, we'll try. There we go. We'll add to this. We can get some group. Go. There we go. We're gonna start cutting this. There we go. All right, we're out. Up a ton on the day. Wanted to get out around 500. Right at 500 though. Yeah, I would say I'm definitely in the top 3 most consistent timing on YouTube ever. Again, guys, I'm gonna say it again. I should have held, you know. And I'm shorting again. See if we can add to this. There we go. There we go. If we reject here. I want to see if it rejects, but there we go. It's better. Come on. Come on. There we go. All right. Beautiful trade. I've been taking larger size because I got a bigger cushion on the day. But we got the rejection at 500, which is what we were looking for initially in that. Still kind of rangy, though. It looks weak, but I think it's hard to find a consistent trend right now, especially 6 minutes after the bell. All right, guys, we got manufacturing PMI in at 8 minutes. Or no, we have services PMI. I'm sorry, at 8 minutes. Yeah, Netflix is down a lot. Might buy it down here though, but oh wait. All right, guys, again, manufacturing or services PMI 945. Look at this private sector numbers that we were getting every week. Yes, we are, but they don't do them. It's Tuesdays, but on the week that we get the non-farm employment change numbers, which is the monthly report, they don't drop it on Tuesday. So it comes out every Tuesday except for the week of the Wednesday report, which is this week, which is what we got. Wednesday's report showed up this morning. It showed up at negative 32,000 versus an expected number of 5 to 15,000. So it showed up much weaker than expected here this morning for jobs. And so I think a rate cut is virtually guaranteed at this point. Bitcoin rising, almost back up to 93,000. All right, we're at 475 here. Very choppy market. I can't really trade this right now. It looks weak, to be honest, and it looks like Microsoft might start testing these lows down here. And maybe we'll get some turns in these as well. But again, we do have manufacturing PMI numbers in about 5 minutes. There's the weakness. So, again, I'm not an investment professional, guys. I'm not liable if you lose money. Always understand all this stuff on screen. I can't guarantee anything. And again, check out TopStep if you want to help support the channel. There's no PDT in futures. Can't day trade without 25K if you want to day trade stocks. But TopStep and futures, there's no PDT rule. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, commodities. No PDT rule. You can't trade individual stocks, but patterns are very similar. $50 a month for the base one. It's just useful. It makes sense. There's no PDT rule. It's just a great way to learn. With a small amount of risk of $50, kind of like a souped up demo account versus funding thousands, and almost all day traders lose their first few accounts. So funding your own account with real money, in my opinion, makes absolutely no sense. But again, I'm sponsored by TopStep, top 3 most biased ever. They're sponsoring mine. I'm biased. Also, I don't even claim to be a good trader. Don't copy me, please. There's the link right there if you want to check it out. PDT is the pattern day trading rule. It states that you can't day trade stocks unless you got $25,000 in your account or more in equity, in a margin account specifically. All right, guys. Hey, we got 4 minutes left. 4 minutes. It's not manufacturing, it's services PMI. It's not manufacturing. If I said manufacturing, my bad, but it's services PMI. Netflix is down a lot this morning. I kind of want to buy the dip, but markets are so choppy right now, and we're seeing a little bit of volatility ahead of the open, but Bitcoin has retraced the entire dip from the Microsoft news. The Bitcoin's almost back up. All right, guys, 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Gold's still up to 42.60s right now. 42.60s right for gold. Home Depot flying up today. Look at Microsoft just getting really close to the lows of the day for Microsoft. I'm watching this push. I'm gonna short again. The manufacturing or the services PMI numbers drop in about 2 minutes though. So I'm actually in a different account right now. I'll show you guys small. Slightly green on this. I want to hold this. I got to cut it before the next 2 minutes is up though. I'm going to be patient with this. I'm going to cut it right there. We're still green. We actually made money on that trade. But we're less green now. I might short a pop like this and see if Microsoft comes back down to lows, which it looks like it's going to. Green. Gonna add to this. Oh. Gonna limit our size actually. Alright guys, we got 1 minute left. 1 minute. I'll add back here, see if we get some drops, but 1 minute left. We can keep falling. There we go. There we go. That's better. Nicely green. We got 30 seconds left. I'm going to cut it right here just to get out before. We're green on the trade. Again, we have services PMI for November expected at 55. Dropping in 20 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. The ISM data at 10 a.m. is larger than this data. So the ISM manufacturing data is bigger than this. And so this is probably going to be the smaller report. But nonetheless, it's important. We'll see if it moves anything. We got about 10 seconds. Here we go. Services expected at 55. 55. And here's the report right here. Services 54.1. Weaker services than expected at 54.1 versus 55 expected. Again, the services PMI data showed up at 54.1 versus 55. Global composite showed weaker than expected as well at 54.2 versus 54.8. The weaker services data than expected here. And again, weaker services than expected. ISM data is the bigger one though, but this one showed up at 54. This one showed up again 54.1 versus 55 expected here. Didn't really move market, so the ISM one would be larger. But yeah, ISM data at 10 a.m. See if this pushes stuff down. I mean, it's weaker services. It kind of mirrors the weak labor numbers we saw this morning. I'm gonna take a little bit of profit here on Home Depot, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit of take a little bit of profit at Home Depot here. I think I should. It's another weak look at the economy. You get 54.1 versus 55 expected. There it is right there. Let's see what yields did on this report. I don't think they... Again, this is the smaller report. Yields are down since the last time I looked at them. They're at 4.06% right now. Here's yields, 4.06%. NASDAQ is so sideways here, though. It's hard to make... I mean, I made money today, but it's harder to make money for sure. I'll short this. Wondering about services, though, so I'm going to short, take some size, because I got a cushion now. As long as they don't rip up here, I'll be okay. Fill some of this gap. better. There we go. I'm gonna take half off here just to protect it. We're shorting and it's kind of chopping back and forth, but I want to wait here, see if I get some good money. There we go. There we go. Retrace right back up there. We're only on 2 left. Half off there. Ride the rest. If they don't rip up, I'll be okay. I mean, I'm still green nonetheless, even if we do rip up, but I want to give it time to test this bottom here. I'll let it test that 500 level. Go. Good. Add to this a little bit here now. Take half off right there and the profit. We'll break down some more. We cut it right there in the green. Put a little bounce here. It wanted to short a bounce. We'll have to add into it now. Okay, that's fine. Going down. We got a very large cushion on the day, so we'll be okay to either way. This is a different account that we were trading on in pre-market, by the way, but see. I can hold the rest close to break even. Falling. At the bottom of the range though, but alright, I'm gonna just cut it right here. We got enough red on the day. Microsoft looks like it's gonna crack the low of the day as well. But short right back into this, I think. There we go. Add to it a little bit here. Half off there. Break down some more. I don't like that candle. Out. Still green. Very green. Alright, I think Microsoft's going to break lows again. I'm going to trade with some of the risk I have on the day in this account. We're going to add some size. Take some risk now. Go. There we go. I want to give it time. I want to see if Microsoft cracks this low. Everything else starts trending down. I'm not going to add more to this though. I don't want to be stubborn with it. We got really close to the lows. I want to see if it pushes down on this candle right here. Okay, there we go. We're green. I'm going to start removing size here immediately. There we go. Okay, we're out. Oof. I have a stressful trade, but I'm going to take one more. We're very green on that trade, by the way. Let's take a little bit more here. How much time we got? We got 8 minutes. Okay, that's fine. That off. Do I want to add to this? I guess I do. Here we go. Let the rest add to this now. Take that off. We're just a little bit down here. Wait, I didn't mean to shoot that big. Alright, look, I'm just gonna cut that right there. Alright, we're very green. On everything. We're up hundreds and hundreds. Alright, guys, we have what, 7 minutes left? 7 minutes. I'm not a big fan of this song. Hey, thank you for the donation. All the data today was not good. Wonder what October reports will look like when they release mid-December. Which October reports? We're not getting a lot of October reports. We're not getting CPI. We're not getting payrolls for October. We might get November reports, but October reports are mostly canceled. October BLS report canceled. October CPI canceled. Right, so we're not really getting October reports. Not a lot of them. We're getting PCE inflation. So we'll see, but. All right, so we're still looking weak. Microsoft never really broke the low, though. It tapped the lows. It technically broke it, but it was really, really small. Bassett's still speaking. He said the Biden, U.S. is a very good ally of China and Taiwan. Relationships are unchanged. China on track to keep every part of the deal with us. All right, guys, so we got a big pop up. Again, Microsoft didn't actually crack the lows here, so. All right, guys, less than 5 minutes. All right, guys, we got about 4 minutes left. 3 minutes, actually. All right. ISM PMI data, guys, expected at 52. Last time was 52.4. They are expecting a small contraction from the previous report for services PMI. Services is the services sector purchasing managers index, and basically over 50 means an expansion in services sector. Below 50 means a contraction in the services sector, and they are expecting, again, 52, so a slight expansion. Last time was 52.4, but the expected number is 52. So again, I think markets might be waiting heavily on this report. We'll see what we get. All right, guys. Still testing that 25.5 level. We've been doing that over and over again. Yeah, gold almost red on the day now. All right, guys, 2.5 minutes. Also, check out Top Step if you haven't already. No PDT in futures. Great way to learn. Most day traders lose money. It's just a useful way to learn how to day trade. They recently gave you guys a no activation fee option, a little bit higher upfront cost, but no activation fee, and they reduced activation fees on their regular accounts overall. So positive changes for sure. If you want to check it out, again, they're a sponsor of mine. I'm biased, but genuinely useful. There's the link. We're waiting on the next 2 minutes to get the ISM data, which usually is a little bit more influential, and the markets are flat right now, so the markets might be sitting on this data waiting here for ISM services. So the markets might be, again, sitting on this data, waiting on it, going sideways. All right, guys, we got a minute and a half. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Higher or lower, guys? Higher or lower? 67% of people think we will get a Santa rally this year, according to my chat. So, Baston says it's an opportunity for philanthropists, to foundation and corporations to contribute to American. He just stopped speaking at the New York Times event. All right, guys, again, we're expected at 52 today. Last time was 52.4 for ISM services. 52.4 was what we showed up as last time. Again, 1 minute. We also have construction spending and more. Last time construction spending for September came out at 0.2, or for August came out at 0.2. This one's for September. A little bit delayed. Here, we got 20 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up. All right, guys. 5 seconds here. 5 seconds. Here we go. And 52 is expected. It showed up at 52.6, stronger than expected at 52.6 versus the expected 52. 52.6 versus the expected 52. A little bit stronger than expected here. Again, a little bit stronger than expected. Nasdaq spiked up on this too. Look at that. A little bit stronger than expected at 52.6 versus 52 expected. Get a little bit stronger than expected. 52.6 versus 52 expected. All right, we're up to 25.525s here. Nasdaq loves this report apparently. Again, here's the data right here. Seven-month low for ISM services, though. Prices paid index, 7-month low for prices paid index. It showed up at 65.4 versus 70 expected. Again, this has benefited the market. Microsoft at 477s here, chat. 477s. Yeah, yields. I mean, yields are going to spike a little bit on this data just because yields and interest rates follow each other. So a strongest services sector means a little bit stronger, a little bit higher interest rate sentiment. And so, look, yields are spiking. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, stronger economic data shows less need to cut rates, and yields and interest rates follow each other. So if we have a higher interest rate sentiment because we have less need to cut rates, then yields are going to go up. We're still pretty likely to cut rates this month, barring something wild happening. We're still pretty probable to cut rates this month. Again, rates currently sitting at 88.8%. And with that said, guys, I'm going to cut out of here. I appreciate the love. Thanks so much. Y'all hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. And yeah. I appreciate the love. Thanks so much, guys. Again, tomorrow we got jobless claims, unemployment, and more. Friday we got PCE inflation, which is the Fed's preferred inflation metric. Look at the NASDAQ pumping a little bit on this data here. So again, I'm going to get out of here. Listen, y'all be good. Have a great day. First time viewer, while I only have a $1,000 Robinhood account, your perspective gives me an idea on how to get started. Thank you. Hey, good luck, man. Appreciate the love. Thanks so much. Remember, guys, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. And as soon as we close this stream, I'm going to bring you to tomorrow's stream. So be ready. We got jobless claims, unemployment. Again, jobless claims, unemployment. Again, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time and tomorrow it drops. Sorry, I'm scheduling the stream now. A little bit late scheduling it. Yep. NASDAQ's flying back up though here, guys. All right, I'm going to cut out. Listen, love you all. Have a great day. Y'all be good.